Your kid made their bed, Chili's 3 for $10. Picked up your dry cleaning, Chili's 3 for $10. Your in-laws just left, Chili's 3 for $10. A starter, an entree, and Coke for just $10. 3 for $10, baby bucks, baby bucks. Oh baby, 3 for $10's back. Baby back, baby back.
Enough with mouthwash that burns. In fact, most mouthwashes contain more alcohol than you think, but Colgate mouthwash is alcohol-free and kills 99% of germs without the burn. Colgate Total, mouthwash with no burn.
Each day is a new day for this team, with new goals and new challenges. We are on a journey. We keep our focus on today and the next step on the road ahead. Each practice and each game is an opportunity to improve our game, to work hard together, to discover our potential for greatness.
The future is now.
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 Here at the half in Nashville, the view from the boat, Cumberland River. Maybe if you listen closely, you could hear the music coming from Tootsie's. It's a fun city. No, I'm talking on behalf of Casey and Hercules. They got to explore
You would know.
Well, here we go. There was a lot of bending, but not breaking for the United States. If you look at the first half highlights with Hercules Gomez and Casey Keller.
All right, Hugo Ayala coming in, and Zach Steffen with a nice little positional save, but Hugo Ayala finding space, beats his man Giassi Zardes on frame.
More here from Mexico, and they got wide here and found a lot of success and got Lainez involved in a fair bit as well.
I thought a lot of times the U.S. defenders were just maybe conceding too much space and just allowing that space out wide, and Mexico exploited it well, and here Zach Steffen just gets his angles a little wrong. You can see the contact's initially made inside the box. He carries it out.
No yellow card.
But Case, doesn't this look reactionary to you? Look at the combination play here, and you know Diego Lainez wants the ball out wide. He's asking for it. They give it to him. Look who has to go pressure out wide. It's Will Trapp. You've got your defensive midfielder now 1v1 with their most explosive player.
Yeah, there's no question that the spaces were off. It was almost as if we're going to tuck in, we're going to make ourselves square. Oh, no, I got to get out now. You know, instead of already thinking, where's that pass coming? I'm already closing it down.
Where's the tactical awareness that you are talking about? Because if all of a sudden Mexico with that line of 5 is pushing both wingbacks so high up that they are literally carving you apart, spreading you out wide, forcing Tyler Adams to go, forcing Kellen Acosta at times to go, forcing Weston McKennie when he was in there, Will Trapp out of position, so Aguirre, so Guzman can free up. So then all of a sudden Lainez and Alvarado have that position, have that 1v1 going down the lines. You should be smarter than that. You should be more composed.
Right. So then what was something that this U.S. team has always depended on? Pace and athleticism.
Yes.
Now, this is supposedly a squad that has a lot of pace and athleticism. So what happens if you are pushing those players forward? Now you win it, and you sprint into that space. We didn't see it enough times. I think a couple times when they went direct.
We may have saw it once.
Yes.
That was Julian Green, the final combination.
And there was some opportunity, but they're not breaking them down, but then they're also not hitting them on the counter when they're getting players forward.
Dave Sarachan touched on possession and the lack thereof, and where do you find that?
Well,
you're saying there's a reaction here all the time for the United States.
It's very easy to say get after him. It's very easy to say let's take care of the ball and possess it more. How? How will you take care of the ball? How will you get Julian Green? How will you get Tim Weah? By the way, Tim Weah is on the field. Did you know that? How will you get
well, we saw a little bit of him at the end of the first half.
How can he all of a sudden, instead with his back to goal, face the goal, go 1v1, force his defenders to be uneasy?
But if you want to play out of the back under pressure, you have to have everybody on the field wanting the ball.
Yes.
And then you also have to have the odd option to go long if you're being overpressed. And there's a disconnect somewhere. There's times when either Carter Vickers or Miazga has the ball and he looks up, or Will Trapp gets the ball, he looks up, and there's nobody there to play.
What Casey's saying is so spot on, because when Will Trapp gets the ball, he looks up, people are standing. They don't want the ball. It almost looks like they are scared to have the ball at their feet.
And the hard part is they're not doing either. They're not creating space for themselves to show short.
Correct.
But then at the same time, they're not sprinting into spaces to give you an outlet long.
The U.S. made one change with Weston McKennie coming out injury-related. We would have to imagine Julian Green coming in. They can be a little more liberal with substitutions, Hercules. Is there someone there on that bench that could provide that spark, that could turn the table here and get that possession that they desperately need?
I'm looking for intelligence. I'm looking for combination play. I'm looking for creativity. I want to see Marky Delgado. I want to see a Christian Roldan in those spaces where I know they have the work ethic, the intelligence to get in those seams to combine to then all of a sudden spring players like Timothy Weah, like Gyasi Sardes into the attack.
Well, again, I think once again we're talking about a group of young players trying to find their way, and there isn't that Claudio Reyna in the middle to be able to play into,
Christian
to be able to
Pulisic
turn
today.
a Christian Pulisic to be able to skip past somebody and open up some space and allow the team to get out of their defensive third.
Yeah, we talked about the older guard that's not here and where they could fit. After 45 minutes, there's a couple guys you figure could fit in very nicely with this young group that haven't conceded, but haven't really looked threatening whatsoever. Much more coming from Nashville. Scoreless after 45 minutes. Big sporting weekend, including that Canelo Triple G fight, and the Mexican fans certainly will be paying attention to that. So far, they've seen a lot of good spots from their team, unable to break through, but Diego Lainez, as Ian and Taylor were touching on, is putting on a show. We'll see what concedes the second half. We have a great schedule. We haven't got ESPN Plus. Get it, you get all the Serie A. You do get a Serie A game on ESPN at noon Eastern, Empoli and Lazio. And we know DC could be in the path of Hurricane Florence, but if they can avoid it, DC United Red Bulls coming your way 1 Eastern time at ESPN, and everyone up and down on the Atlantic seaboard, stay safe during the next few days. Of course, we wrap up the international week, and then we get back to the clubs over the weekend. Before we do that, we're going to wrap things up in Nashville. Second half is coming next. It is the United States and Mexico, scoreless after 45 minutes.
Welcome back to the Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee, as the USA come out for the second half here against Mexico, who I think we have to admit, Taylor, were the better team in that first half.
Especially after they settled down and the three attacking players were all over the back four of the United States. There was a rhythm to how they were playing. They were on the front foot. But more concerning is the United States was very disjointed. They looked unorganized defensively, but then they really lacked anything breaking down the pressure. I will tip my cap to Julian Green, because since he came in, the game kind of changed a little bit in the United States' favor going forward. They need more from the front three to relieve that pressure on the back four.
No doubt everybody enjoying it in this fast expanding town of aspiring singers and songwriters, and tonight aspiring international footballers as well from both countries. Mexico with the lion's share of possession so far, as Dave Sarakin works away there in the little dugout. These fans hoping for a US revival. I think the best day of the year for the United States was the day the World Cup ended, wasn't it? That sort of was the end of the nightmare in a way.
In the beginning of a new time. But that also still raises the question, they still haven't hired a coach, which leaves me shaking my head more often than not, because these games are equally important.
And of course everybody's saying it's going to be Greg Berhalter of Columbus Crew, but any maybe some mystery man who's going to come out the woodwork?
If I had to pick anyone, I would say Tata Martino. Even though he's an outsider, I think people need to talk more about Tata Martino than they are being an outside shot of being the national team head coach.
From Taylor Twellman, who's usually fairly informed about these things.
Nah, I'm just throwing it against the wall, Ian.
Or just covering your bases, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. It's the intrigue goes on. It's been going on a long time, mind you. I think I'm with you, Taylor. I agree. When they've got fixtures like this, Brazil, Mexico, England, Italy, maybe whoever it's going to be needs to be in charge for this autumn. Here's Tyler Adams. Looking for a return ball from Ware over there. There will be changes in this second half, this being a friendly game. It's not usually a friendly, only in name when the US play Mexico. The last time the US beat Mexico was in April 2015 in San Antonio, a 2-0 win with Jordan Morris and Juan Agudelo getting the goals on that occasion. And since then, there's been the World Cup qualifying defeat and draw, and the big loss in the CONCACAF Cup, which meant the US didn't go to the Confederations Cup. 3-2, a thriller, but they went the wrong way as far as the US were concerned in extra time. Here's Green, nearly found Zardes. Getting on the ball and just starting to make one or two things happen in that kind of number 10 role, Green.
Well, and in an area of the field that they had very little in the first half, but since Julian Green's come in, it's underneath Giazzi Zardes, and he's playing in that second forward attacking midfielder role, and he's done a good job in limited amount of time of creating something going forward for the United States.
He's quite a story, isn't he, Julian Green? And you and I remember when he was making his debut and Jurgen Klinsmann was raving about his potential, and at the time he was having to be driven to training by his mum in Munich to Bayern.
Well, it's amazing to think he's in his 7th season as a professional, but wasn't his debut in this game? Was it
yeah, he made his debut in the 2-2 draw against Mexico. The 68th meeting between the great rivals here goes all the way back to 1934 and the World Cup. They met in Rome, and the USA won 4-2 to progress in the competition, and Aldo Donelli got all 4 of the goals. It's only happened 3 more times since in history. A US player getting 4 goals in a game. Last time was Landon Donovan. Arteaga to play this one forward. Nothing doing for Alvarado, who plays for Cruz Azul, who are the leaders in Liga MX. He's got a couple of goals already for them. The next World Cup will be a Winter World Cup in Qatar in the Middle East. Controversially, Arteaga no way through that time. Once again, the USA largely on the back foot, as they have been for a lot of the games against some big name opponents.
It's a good play here from Shaq Moore. That's one of his strong suits, is one-on-one defending. And you and I saw him against France and Lyon. I thought he was very good on that day. You know, the issue for Shaq Moore is that DeAndre Yedlin's playing that spot. So then the question is, you know, can Shaq Moore show versatility? Can play in the left back role maybe? Can he maybe play in front of DeAndre Yedlin and play as a wide player? There's different areas, but Shaq Moore, that game in Lyon against France was a good showing, and tonight he's been solid.
It'll be tough to displace Yedlin, who's a regular for Newcastle United in the English Premier League and recently scored his first goal in the Premier League against Manchester City, the champions, as well. So far, Carter Vickers and Miazga, though, still looking quite solid back there. It's Kellen Acosta, really a central midfield player being used in a wideish right position, quite suit him. Just tucking in a little now, I've noticed.
Yeah, but that's thrown the balance off a little bit, Ian, don't you think?
Yeah. And they've got a right-footed left back, a point you've made already. And Anthony Robinson is on the bench. He did get a bit of a chasing at times the other night from Douglas Costa of Brazil. Wouldn't be the first player, though, who'd been torched by him. Here's Weah. Green. Digs out a cross as well. Away by Alanis for Mexico. And then Abea with the somewhat languid clearance. Mexico on the break, though, now. Once again, it's Gerardo Arteaga on that side. Beats it to Roberto.
That's great defending
Alvarado
from Cameron Carter-Vickers, Ian. Spot on. You know, my only criticism of Cameron Carter-Vickers' few appearances, at times he estimate some of his positions, right? So he'll take some risks, but tonight he's been very composed in those one-on-one moments and taking those risks at the right time. Good example of that tackle.
Cameron Carter-Vickers, the son of Louisiana State 1980s basketball star Howard Carter. And I think he's converted Dad to be a soccer fan. Olays from the Mexican fans just below us here as Mexico push the ball around. Here's Ayala. Osvaldo Alanis. And now it's Arteaga again. Victor Guzman rushed it, and it showed. USA's record since the World Cup nightmare is a draw with Portugal and a draw with Bosnia, beat Paraguay and Bolivia, lost in Ireland, drew against France a week before the World Cup and lost to Brazil last Friday. Now read on. They really are being thrown into the deepest part of the ocean, though, aren't they, with these fixtures coming up?
But why not? I mean, if the real question is to bridge the gap with the world elite, you have to find out, Ian. You have to get those answers. And if the only time you can do it is the year right after the World Cup, then so be it.
And they faced Mbappe and Neymar already this year. They'll be facing Harry Kane at Wembley.
My only concern is with these young players, inexperienced players being thrown to the fire, you do need some veteran leadership to make that transition. And we've seen it throughout 94 through 98, 2002, all the way through. Now all of a sudden you have your worst moment in your program's history. You still need veteran leadership. And while everyone on Twitter is going to tweet me right now and say throw the old guys to the fire, the reality is no. You have to have some experienced players passing the torch. That is my only concern with the way this group is being set up right now, with Dave Sarachan as an interim head coach.
Well, my understanding is that a couple of those old guard players might well come back in and would have come back in if this was a World Cup match tonight. I think we're thinking probably of the likes of Michael Bradley and Jose Altidore.
Even Brad Guzan deserves to be in that.
Well, he wants to go on, doesn't he? But Stefan's been good so far. Now then, here's Tim Weah, Julian Green. Kellen Acosta inside to Trapp, who turned well there. He had good wing mirrors in that position because it was a tricky ball into him. He'll be hoping that Greg Berhalter gets the job, of course, because he plays for him, for Columbus Crew. There's a lot of feeling that maybe Tyler Adams, his best position would be there as a holder, like a number 6, as the coaches would say. So that would just tighten up the competition. Here's Trapp again. This time he's got the ball back too. Is Adams, plays it across to Miazga, super dedicated.
Yeah, but that's a good spot from Miazga, Ian. Stepping into the midfield, that makes Mexico step out, and now you can break them down.
Here's Weah. This is a little bit better from the US. So some fluent football there in the build-up. They kept possession a lot better. Looked after the football. Oh, that's pretty unceremonious, and will be a Mexican free kick for certain. They're going to make a change now, and I think this will give the US a better balance.
Agreed.
Anthony Robinson, who plays in the English Championship for Wigan, to replace Eric Lehigh, and he's a natural left footer. Lehigh is really a right back these days.
Yeah, but the balance you're talking about, and Anthony Robinson's very comfortable getting forward. He can deliver a good cross. That's going to open up the space more than likely for Timothy Weah that's sitting in front of him. Because now Mexico knew with Eric Lehigh there being right-footed, it makes it very narrow and easier to defend. If Robinson overlaps and gets forward, it's going to open up that half a yard, that half a space for Timothy Weah to occupy.
US are unbeaten in friendly matches against Mexico going back to 1999, but of course it's the big ones you really want to win. Trapp cut that out well. Weah and Green, those two combining to some effect, but that time they didn't quite get it right, but Weah's pickpocketed the ball in an important area. Back come the US again. This time it was Adams that won it. Robinson's first involvement on that left-hand side. Shackmore from Powder Springs, Georgia. Here's Alvarado. Guzman, was he fouled there? Referee didn't think so. Remember, Matt Miazga has already gone into the referee's notebook for a foul in the first half. I've noticed referees try not to give out too many yellow cards when it's a friendly, but sometimes that doesn't quite work because players do tend to take liberties. And there is a duty of care to look after players as well, and being hammered around by defenders who think they can get away with it. A gradual improvement from the US. Can you detect that here, Taylor?
A little bit. I think the energy of the game, if we're being honest, is completely different than what we saw in the first 45. And often we see that in friendlies with substitutions and coming out. But even the energy in the buildings died down a little bit. But it has been a little bit more pragmatic, I think, from the United States. But I also think you're going to see a little bit more coming forward because Anthony Robinson's going to bring some balance.
Do you want to see the American team produce some of the qualities we were looking for before the game? That little bit of extra creativity, invention. Let's see if it arrives in this second half as Acosta plays that into Green, who's looked brighter than most, to be fair, in a US shirt tonight. His line is again, there's a shade of Lionel Messi about him. He's obviously way short of that level at the moment as Alvarado plays that too near to the goalkeeper. That wasn't a good ball. Picked up easily by Aguirre in midfield. Little Eric Aguirre wearing the number 16 shirt for Mexico. Here's Alvarado again. His mate Lainez always wants to take people on. Fizzed in not very well. Adams cut it up, gave it straight to Lainez on the edge of the box. That's not a great idea.
Good ball. Yeah, the United States just can't get out onto a counter into space and use the pace of Timothy Weah, Giazzi Zardes, and even Julian Green to a certain extent. When they do win possession, it's too deliberate, and now you have to break down 6, 7, 8 Mexican defenders.
Here is Zardes trying to work with Acosta. Maybe just a little bit of the energy level of Mexico dropping as Zardes tries to break onto this one, and Alvarez had to be quite quick on his feet there to get across and put the fire out there.
Well, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. The ball turns over, you find the pace of Timothy Weah, but it's a sloppy first touch, and now that slowness and deliberateness coming out, it allows Mexico to drop in. You want to get out in the open sometimes with Weah and Zardes up front, and even Julian Green underneath. We've seen very little in the open from the United States in the final third. But set pieces, how often, Ian, you and I have called a game, it's been ugly, it's been difficult, and then a set-piece goal from the United States comes.
Acosta to swing it in, doesn't beat the first defender. It's amazing how often you find yourself saying that. Green plays it in, and it's a good punch, really, by Gonzalez. Got the necessary height on it. Once he'd come for it, he had to win it. Acosta wants to let go with a curling shot, but it was blocked on the way. Of course, these two countries will renew rivalry in the Gold Cup next summer, which might be a tasty affair. Green is fouled there, free kick, taken quickly, good idea.
Great
Robinson.
idea.
Bit of space. Sarnes, can he finish it? Not quite. Just needed a stud. That was all.
Comes off a great idea here from Julian Green. Quick free kick, ball turns over, find Anthony Robinson. And here's the difference. You've got a natural left-footed player coming forward, delivering a great ball in. But at least there's a proactiveness to Julian Green that's brought some energy to this attack.
I think he's just added a little bit of craft, doesn't he? And know-how that was missing before, I think.
But he's also proactive, isn't he, Ian?
That's what he was told to do. A lovely ball there from Green. And Moore's header just didn't quite have the fizz on it to get to Zardes, who was on the back post. It's Arteaga for Mexico. We won't want to slip to a fourth consecutive defeat. That hasn't happened for the national team since 2001. Took a bit of a hammering in the end the other night from Uruguay when Luis Suarez was at his most audacious with a Panenka penalty as a Rabona to set up another goal. He scored with a free kick. He went through his full repertoire. Alvarez wearing the number 4. A lot of people in Mexico think he might be the new Rafael Marquez for them. He's pretty versatile. Wears the same number. That's a big billing to give him, mind you. Rafael Marquez, a wonderful player for Mexico.
Especially since Rafa Marquez is going to play till he's 65.
Don't give him ideas. Here come the US with a good run, that from Tyler Adams. 8 up the grass. He's got boundless energy, that's for certain. That's too close to the goalkeeper. There's nothing doing for Zardes there. Of course, we've spoken of the US players who aren't around at the moment, but what about Mexico? No Chicharito, no Moreno, Guardado, Giovanni Dos Santos, Herrera, Vela, who is a star striker for them, Layun, and Lozano, who's not here tonight. So, you know, I'm sure we'll see some of those players again. They're trying to just redesign both countries at the moment. Miazga has pulled back, free kick.
Miazga, and that's the one thing that I've seen from his time, and I love this.
That's an unequal contest, isn't it? The referee having to step in as the verbals fly. You see, it's US v Mexico. They all feel it. And Miazga's got to be a bit careful. He's already been booked. He does not want to get involved here. Well, at the moment, it's all handbags at 5 paces, isn't it, this?
Yeah, exactly. But on the other hand, there's a little bit of an edge, finally. I mean, this is US-Mexico. I don't care if it's a friendly. Roll your sleeves up and dig in. Now, I'd argue, and I agree with you, Ian, that you're on a yellow. Matt Miazga needs to be careful. But this is what you're talking about, why he's the future center back of the national team. We saw him chase down Neymar. He's got good feet. Okay, the foul's here. You're on a yellow. You do need to grow up. This is not needed. But give me some edge. Give me some life.
But just don't be too stupid about it.
Agreed. But so what? Give me something.
There's nothing in that except a few verbals. What you can't do is raise your arm. No, he doesn't touch him. It's good that Miazga's that fluent in Spanish, isn't it? I think you're going to see quite a lot more of Diego Lainez, that's for certain. And I agree with you, Miazga's trap, that's a nasty one.
That's a red card.
Yeah, it's a red card.
100%.
He's gone. That's
100%.
Zaldivar, isn't it? And that changes everything. Things are just beginning to boil over here. Well, you wanted bite, the wrong kind of bite there. Trapp's left in a heap.
When Zaldivar brings it down, it was a sloppy touch, but studs up over the ball. There's no question, Ian. That left foot comes over the top of the ball right here. Watch the left foot. Over the ball.
And into
that leg. And it's hard to argue that.
And the referee's criteria of judgment there is a challenge which is likely to endanger an opponent with excessive force. I think that ticks that box. Red card it is. Unfortunate really on his very first start for the national team for Angel Zaldivar of Guadalajara, but he had to go for that one. Let's hope Trapp's okay, because frankly challenges like that can end with a broken bone. I don't think he started off with a malicious idea, but it just became
trying to turn, but
he lost control. He lost control.
The reality is he lost control, went over the ball, and it was dangerous.
So this is 10 against 11 now. Trapp is okay, happily. But he'd have felt that all right with the studs thudding in. And off goes Zaldivar, who's been in good form for his club with 4 goals in 8 matches start of the season.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the intent of Zaldivar is to turn with his left foot here, but because he loses control, he's over the ball. I don't think there's a real argument, Ian. I don't.
No, I think zero argument, I think, Taylor, to be honest with you.
Well, and you and I have seen the replay 6-7 times. The referee saw it live action. He's got to make the decision. I think that's the right decision. But now the question mark is this. This is a learning experience for the United States and young players. The center forward for Mexico gets a red card. He's off the field. There's absolutely no reason right now, if you're the United States, to play 4 in the back.
No, they can go for it.
You've got to go for it. So you've got to push Kellen Acosta high. You've got to push Shaq Moore as high as you can. Leave Cameron Carter-Vickers and Matt Miazga and leave Will Trapp in front of it, but push the numbers high and take advantage of the situation.
Mexico now, I think, will look to sit in and just play on the counter as and when they can. It's up to the USA to try to do something about that, and that is going to require some of that invention we were talking about. Trapp has gone over to the sideline and informed everybody, I'm okay, no problem. Here he is on the ball now, the skipper. All those white shirts behind the ball. Mexico more or less saying to the US, come on then, break us down if you can. Weah trying to do exactly that. Digs out across, stands it up to the back post. Bit too long for Acosta, who was arriving in that position. Here's Tyler Adams now. And Trapp thought about the shot. Now he'll let one go. Did he deflect off anybody on the way through, I wonder? Yeah, it's a corner.
Yeah, but this is good work from Timothy Weah. Go find the game. You've got the freedom to go find those pockets of space, get to the channels, get to the end line, do whatever you can to open up the space and open up the Mexican back 4. That's good work from Timothy Weah getting forward.
Here's the US corner.
Keep an eye on Cameron Carter-Vickers on this near post run.
Stood up to the back post towards Tyler Adams. It never got to him in the end, and Mexico are going to get a free kick anyway. Just confirmation of that red card handed out to Angel Zaldivar. Alanis' long ball was on the optimistic side, to put it mildly, and it's given the US possession easily. Trapp to Acosta, playing a bit more centrally now. Good energy now about the US, and Adams has got a chance here and scores! Tyler Adams! US 1-0! He gets his first ever US goal! And against the old enemy, Mexico, as well. Great moment for him. Really great moment in his career. Only 19 years of age. He scored against Mexico in a US shirt.
But the balance completely changed in this game. Here's your runner. Here's your goal scorer. Tyler Adams coming in here because you've got a natural left back that is comfortable. He's going to provide some width. If this is Eric Lehigh, he's not comfortable in this. Anthony Robinson is extremely comfortable with his left foot. He's a good crosser. But the biggest reason why that happens is Tyler Adams makes a 35 to 40-yard run out of the midfield, finishes the play off. Well done from the United States, and Anthony Robinson bringing some balance to the United States attack.
Well, how fitting that on 9/11 the goal came from a player who plays in New York. Splendid goal, really, that from the US, and Anthony Robinson is certainly playing his part. There's a more natural width now with a proper left-back, left-footer out on that side. And Mexico now have really got a problem. Down to 10 and down a goal. Alanis inside is not accurate. They've just lost their mojo in the game, Mexico, who were the better side by some distance, really, in the first half. Dave Sarachan, the interim coach, was asked at the press conference yesterday by one of the reporters who said, well, look, 5 or 6 changes you're talking about. Doesn't winning matter? And he said, you've got to be kidding. Where did you get that impression? Well, they want to win it, all right. Here's the goal scorer, Adams. He'll be lifted enormously by that. Come on, Taylor, tell us, what's that like when you get your first goal for your country? You know.
Well, it's something you dream about. It's something you go in your backyard and you do it time and time again as a kid, wearing the red, white, and blue. Tyler Adams will remember that for the rest of his life.
That's Green trying his luck.
But I want to go back to that goal because so much of this is about the balance of the United States coming forward and an overlapping run. And we've seen it since Anthony Robinson came into the game. He's brought some real balance, and it's opened up the seams for the Tyler Adams, the Julian Greens, and even Timothy Weah to come inside. With Mexico down a man, the United States pressed the issue and did it exactly the way they needed to. And what a moment for the 19-year-old kid from New York.
And the 18-year-old who's taken the eye, Lainez, is being substituted now by Mexico. They've gone for a little bit more experience. Another winger, Elias Hernandez from Cruz Azul, who's got 4 goals this season. Played against Uruguay the other night. He's coming on for his 25th cap. And Alan Pulido as well is out there. Here's Green. Good challenge twice by Alvarez. This is better, though, from the USA. They've played with more purpose. Whatever was said at half-time seems to have worked, and I think they were playing better as well before the red card.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but I do think the red cards completely changed the game. But you've got to take advantage of the situation. You and I have called numerous amount of games where teams go up a man and all of a sudden it's anemic, but it's been the opposite for the United States, and credit to them. It's not been the prettiest of games, to say the least, but since the red card, there's been an energy, there's been an edge, and it's come off the United States pushing numbers into the midfield, and rightfully so, because with Mexico down a man, there's absolutely no reason you need to play with 4 center backs against 1 Mexican forward up front.
The goal from Tyler Adams, age 19, from Wappinger Falls, New York State. It might be a friendly, but the players pick up a pretty tidy bonus if they win, don't they, too?
Well, it's always been that. When the United States plays one of the top 10 teams ranked in the world, plus Mexico, you're looking at a game check of over 15 grand.
Carter Vickers was played into a little bit of a problem, but got it away from Guzman all right. As Cameron Carter-Vickers again, who was born in England on the seaside resort of Southend-on-Sea. His mum's from that part of the world. Dad American, of course. Here's Shaq Moore on a run down the right-hand side. Another US goal, of course, could turn it into the old Dos a 0 yet again. It's amazing how many times that has happened. Half of the US's wins over Mexico in history have been by that scoreline. It's only one at the moment, of course. Looking around to a very healthy-looking crowd in Nashville. They do hope, the locals here, that they might get the nod as a World Cup venue in 2026. Of course, there's a few others who would like to have that nomination.
This is your first visit here, isn't it?
No, it's the second, actually. Yeah.
I wasn't listening to
I'm considerably healthy this time, the time I came before, but I won't go into that. You can plan your trip to the Johnny Cash Museum now, Taylor. Or is that's not your scene, huh?
No, that's not. I'm leaving that to you.
Yeah, I might give it a go. Is where getting much more involved in the game now. Costa to play it wide. Moore once more. Artiega, did he make any contact with the ball, or did he just take Moore out? Nothing's given, except a goal kick. Tyler Adams joining Josie Altidore and Landon Donovan as US teenagers to score against Mexico in the modern era. Made inside by Hernandez to Aguirre. He obviously took the view that Lainez had just run out of puff a little, I think, the coach Tuca Ferretti. Costa got himself in a bit of trouble around the edge of the box. He was quite clever. He bought a free kick.
Yeah, but I think he gets away with one here, and he knows it because that was a sloppy touch, and Guzman on his backside putting up some high pressure. Yeah, that's a foul, but Kellen Acosta getting away with a sloppy touch here on top of his 18.
He seemed to lose his way completely at Dallas, didn't he, Kellen Acosta? And
he did, but I think you've seen it. He's been smiling. You've heard it that from his short time so far in Colorado, he's got a new lease on life in his career. But now with Weston McKennie and Tyler Adams in the picture, Ian, you and I were calling the World Cup qualifier against Costa Rica, talking about Kellen Acosta being the future of the national team, and now he's got some real competition.
Bobby Wood is going to replace Chassis Zardes up front for the US, and one of the World Cup squad, Jesus Gallardo of Monterrey, is coming on here for Mexico. Usually plays left side defense. Maybe play a little further forward here by the look of things, though, wearing the number 23 shirt. Gallardo, very quick. At the World Cup, he picked up the fastest World Cup yellow in history in 13 seconds against Sweden. Here's Moore. You're right, Taylor, it hasn't been pretty, but a win over Mexico would be a huge lift. Robinson here, he's done well since he's come on, and Bobby Wood couldn't get his shot away, just trying to buy that little half a yard of space you need, couldn't quite do it.
Well, for a young player like Anthony Robinson, struggled Friday night, against Brazil, 21 years of age. You can learn a lot about the makeup of a young player and how does he react. He's come into this game and brought some real life and some real balance to this United States attack. You've learned something tonight about Robinson.
Yeah, I like him. And certainly his manager at Wigan, Paul Cook, likes him as well. Wigan have been promoted to the second tier in England. And a few other clubs were sniffing around as well. Here is Cameron Carter-Vickers. Moore was guessing that Wood might have made a run into the channel, but he didn't. Bobby Wood, who of course is from Honolulu, Hawaii. 40 caps and 12 goals. 41st tonight for him. Hardly got a touch the other night against Brazil. It largely wasn't his fault. Another US player playing in the Bundesliga, Bobby Wood. And it's Robinson again. Nice feet. Wasn't sure what Moore was doing there. Carter-Vickers there just gives him a really old-fashioned look. Daggers, he looked at him across there. What was that? Wood's on the chase here. That's nicely done by Mexico as well. It seems to be all the rage, doesn't it? Playing out from the back, using the goalkeeper as a kind of sweeper. The problem is not all defenders can do it, and certainly not all goalkeepers. Hernandez. Back to Edson Alvarez. Good release ball. And Mexico come with Sander trying to feed that into Pulido there. It is a completely different game, isn't it, now?
Yeah, well, the game changed with the red card. And what was interesting for me was whether or not the United States would understand tactically how to deal with that, and they have. You know, and I've been watching Cameron Carter-Vickers and Matt Miazga a little bit, and they've shown some real leadership in pushing the midfield high up. Okay, maybe Will Trapp will sit in, but Shaq Moore and Robinson have played as almost natural wingers.
Substitution being made here as Christian Roldan of Seattle Sounders is introduced for Kellen Acosta. Always many changes. Shaq Moore, I think, is going to come off after he's had this bit of treatment and be replaced, be a like-for-like switch, DeAndre Yedlin. Let's just check where we are and what's happened so far. Maybe you're a little bit late tuning in.
Well, the game changed with this little altercation between Lainez and Matt Miazga. Then all of a sudden the energy got into it. Matt Miazga on a yellow. Then immediately right after this dangerous challenge here, it's a red card. And then the reaction from the United States, push numbers forward, get into the attack, use the width of the field. Great run here from Kellen Acosta to find Anthony Robinson. And Tyler Adams scores his first goal for the red, white, blue. The United States recognized the situation. They made a couple little tactical changes. Deservedly so, they got their goal.
And that's what you want to see a lot of as well. The midfield players arriving late in the box and finishing and scoring. That's what a lot of the great midfield players have done, and it's always a very, very useful part of the armory for any aspiring player. Long towards Pulido. Green lost control of it. Picked up by Aguirre. Picked up a pass there, and that would have been some goal had Hernandez been able to finish. He was looking for the volley off the outside of the foot, so check this out again.
How's this for a ball? But Matt Miazga is too slow to react for me, and he's having a conversation right now with Anthony Robinson. but this is on Matt Miazga because immediately when the ball turns over, his head needs to be on a swivel. He's got to turn his body and look for that ball over. And look at that face in the background of Matt Miazga. He's looking at Anthony Robinson, but that falls on the shoulders of the 23-year-old Matt Miazga. How about that ball forward? My goodness.
It was a fantastic ball. It really was. Aguirre. It would have been some goal had he been able to finish it. He couldn't, of course. His Green again. He's been outstanding, really, since he's come on as Julian Green tonight.
This is great work here from the referee, and it's a little thing, but he sees Bobby Wood with the head injury and blows the whistle.
Yeah. And obviously, this is all a subject very close to your heart, Taylor, at the end of your concussion week as well.
Yeah, but exactly, and it's part of what the United States Soccer Federation wants to change the attitude around head injuries in sports, and Bobby Wood gets hit here right there in his head, and immediately the referee recognizes it. He blows the whistle. The referee has so much, I think, importance to this issue because he controls the game. He controls the whistle, but now blowing the whistle, it allows the training staff to come on, and now Bobby Wood should be properly assessed. The referee deserves some real credit here.
Wood's moaning about it, but this referee went to the World Cup, and he went to the World Cup for a reason, because he was good enough and selected. And I thought the referees in the main were outstanding in Russia.
But Bobby Wood Friday night was hit, and the referee would not allow the training staff of the United States to come on, and he should have been assessed. Well done.
This time Miazga does get there. Mexico going for it a little bit, and not going to be able to do anything on this occasion as Gallardo tried to break through. Like a yellow card being issued there as well in the melee to DeAndre Yedlin. And the tempers are getting pretty frayed here, only a couple of minutes to go. Well, he'll think any win over Mexico is well worth having. Immersed in the long and storied history between these two nations. Trapp feeding it through to Green. Oof. Wood rather left his foot in there. To be fair, very little is made of it. No, he's a card shown, and a Bayer just wants a word with that. It did look a little on the feisty side, that from Wood.
And it was late.
Yeah.
No argument from me whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's yellow.
Yes, it's yellow. It's maybe even yellow plus. Without being red, really. Certainly left something on him, as the pros like to say. Ayala to feed it wide as Mexico look to rescue this. They are on a bit of a crest of a slump at the moment. Memories of their World Cup exit in Russia's, or the Soviet old space city of Samara. Seen some players out here tonight, though, in a Mexican shirt who will surely feature in their future. One of them is Arteaga, who plays it wide for Gallardo there. And the Liners had a great first half, maybe not so much in the second. Gallardo dug out a great-looking cross there, and out comes Zach Steffen, who again has done absolutely nothing wrong.
No, I think if there's any criticism of Zach Steffen's game was that decision to come off his line with that ball over the top and whether or not he used his hands. But Ian, you and I have now done a couple games with Zach Steffen in goal. He's impressive, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he's good. Of course, Brad Guzan wants to come back into the squad and play on through the cycle, a more established goalkeeper. But I think he might have a job getting Steffen out of that #1 jersey. Another change for the US. Marquis Delgado of Toronto. Having a good season, although Toronto aren't. Comes on to win his third cap. Good all-round midfield player and a bit of a fan favourite. Yedlin biting in with the challenge. US want this win now. There wasn't much sign of it coming in the first half when they were second best. It's not a win that changes the whole mood around US soccer, but it is a morale booster, isn't it?
No, of course, Ian. I mean, you're not going to tell any one of those players or coaches on the field that the win doesn't matter. But when you're assessing from up here and where you and I are, I think you have to be honest and you have to be truthful. The reality was it was an ugly first half. It was not a promising first 45 minutes. Now, the second half was a little different. I think the energy changed in the building. The United States were a little bit pragmatic in their approach. The red card changed the game. Give credit to the United States. But when assessing this game, the first 45 minutes is concerning because it was disjointed and it wasn't the best of performances, to say the least.
Having said that, the US showed the quality of riding out the rough patch to prevail, and
well said. Well said.
Is very much a part of the story of any football match. Time's nearly up here now. US nearly on their way to their first ever victory over Mexico for 3.5 years as Bobby Wood makes a good run down this right-hand side, cuts it back. Green couldn't quite work it onto his left foot. US hunting that ball down again. Energy levels there. We knew about the spirit, the character, the grit of this side. We've seen it already with these youngsters. Second half, they've just shown a little more of an attacking threat to go with it. Undoubtedly aided, as Taylor's been making the point, by the fact they've got a man advantage. And that is it. It's Mexico's worst run for 17 years. 4 defeats on the spin, but a big morale booster for the US and these young players to win by a goal to nil, and on 9/11 with a goal scored by a player who plays his football in New York for New York Red Bulls. There's something certainly in that on this poignant day of memory. The USA beating Mexico by 1-0 here in Nashville. We'll be back with you in just a second or two.
One of the top wins for USA over Mexico, but it was a victory. Mexico 4 straight losses, and the USA will take that from a grin from ear to ear with Herc and Casey. I'll be the cheerleader. Hey, great win for the United States. Your final thoughts. What stood out to you for good or for better or for worse?
Well, when you're not playing well and you're not really dictating play, you defend well. The U.S. has done that for a long time. It showed back to just hard knock defending. Yes, Zaldivar with the silly red card changed the whole game, but I love for Robinson. He did coming in after the difficulties the other day against Brazil. He came in and really had a good.
Listen, bad
good
game.
assist.
You still get a win against your biggest rival. The emergence of Tyler Adams. How intelligent of a player is he? How important will he be going in the future for this team? That's something to build on.
And as Ian touched on, hey, they weathered the storm and they answered. We're out of time. The final score: the United States 1, Mexico 0. On behalf of Herc, Casey, Sebi, Ian, Taylor, I'm Max. Sports Center is next. So long from Music City.